right, hello everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started with our webinar today. I am Amelia Niger, the Education Specialist with the Oracle Applications and Technology Users Group. I am very excited to welcome you all to today's e-learning session, Monitoring and Analytics, Conquer Them in 2022. Before we dive in and get started, I would like to briefly introduce everyone to OATUG in case you're new to our programming. We are a community of Oracle users and we provide education, networking, and support to our members. Be sure to save the date for our Ascend conference this year. It's going to be at the ARIA in Las Vegas from June 12th to the 15th. Just a quick reminder for today's webinar, you will be on mute throughout the session. However, you are welcome to send questions at any time through the question box in your control panel, which we will address at the end. You will also receive a brief survey at the conclusion of this webinar. Your response will help us shape the future of our education. So if you are interested in receiving CPE credit, your survey response will be required. We are recording this session, and the recording as well as the slide deck will be available to OATUG members in the knowledge base. You'll see the link for that in the chat area. And now I would like to turn it over to today's presenter. We have Sarth Varma, who is the Director of Operations with SoftArt. So thank you so much for presenting today, and you can take it away, Sarth.
Thank you, Amelia. I appreciate the great introduction. So yeah, just as Amelia mentioned, we're going to be covering monitoring and analytics, how to conquer them in 2022, along with, of course, the future. So you're going to learn not only about the significance of monitoring, the tools available today, some of the challenges faced, some best practices, and then lastly, going over a tool that is one of the many that can solve it all. So to jump right in, and a quick introduction to who we are. So SoftArt is an ERP and database consulting and managed service provider, and we've been that for over 18 years, since 2003. We support a variety of different solutions, specializing in the Oracle arena. We've actually been an Oracle Gold partner since the beginning, and it is our specialty. We work with a lot of different industries, some being industrial manufacturing, high-tech electronics, financial services. We have nonprofits, retail facilities, and many more from there. So a little bit about what we're able to do. We not only help with ERP implementations, partnering with Oracle, so NetSuite, eBusiness Suite, Oracle ERP Cloud, but also able to support a lot of other ERPs that are out there. In today's society, remote work, remote learning is just the norm. So we offer managed remote support, and that's 24/7 support due to our global locations. We also assist with cloud migration, so migrating your EBS instance, your database over to the cloud, as well as starting off with a cloud-based solution, as well as upgrades, patches, and remote and on-site staffing should the need ever arise. So a quick introduction to the speakers today who will be diving further. We have Sanjay Varma, who's the CTO here at SoftArt. He's been with SoftArt since our inception in 2003. He was one of the co-founders and has over 30 years of Oracle experience, specializing in many Oracle solutions such as Oracle Database, eBusiness Suite, application servers, and cloud technology. We also have Varun, who is the IT director here at SoftArt. He's been leading the initiative on our product development division, networking infrastructure, and cloud solutions. With his over 8 years of experience in the industry, he and Sanjay have helped shape Monolithics into what it is today. And of course, you'll also be hearing from me, the Director of Operations. So I'll jump right in and talk about what we're going to be discussing today. So I briefly went over this on that intro slide, but we'll be covering monitoring, its importance, its significance, analytics, jumping into how it's able to be done today for Oracle infrastructure, some of the tools available and its challenges, then jumping into some of the best practices we've seen as Oracle specialists. Then we'll go over an overview of Monolithics, which is a tool enabled to help solve all the challenges today, as well as its features and a brief demo at the end. And of course, we'll end with a Q&A section. However, if you have any questions on any of the slides, you can ask them at any point, and Amelia would jump in whenever necessary to pose those questions. Perfect. So when it comes to monitoring, what exactly is it? What is analytics and why is it even important? So monitoring is the process of collecting, analyzing, and leveraging information to track not only a solution's progress, but what is occurring today. It's critical for any applications maintenance. So of course, it's not limited to Oracle, but it is very vital in terms of understanding what is happening in your infrastructure today so that you can then make informed decisions in the future or even resolve issues that are coming up currently. So without monitoring, you're essentially in the dark. You don't know what's happening with your solution at any point. You don't know if your database is running low on storage or if it needs to increase performance. You don't know on any solutions exactly what's happening, so then you can't make informed decisions. And in fact, on that note, proactive monitoring is a very key aspect because rather than a reactive approach where an issue or a problem or a crash comes up and you're basically in that disaster recovery mode, putting out fires to figure out what happened and to solve it, proactive monitoring is the act of putting alerts and notifications, monitoring it in advance to alleviate all of these issues before they even come major problems. Of course, when it comes to the major problems, it then takes time, money, resources, and then in some instances, clients and customers have been lost if you're not proactive and there's too much downtime with an issue that comes up. So when it comes back to Oracle, some of the main things to be monitoring is your database, your application and web server, your server, and the access to them. And then, of course, when it comes to what you're monitoring, you want to monitor availability, some of the fatal issues that could arise, performance, analytics, which we'll speak to, and any job statuses that are ongoing. So monitoring and analytics go hand in hand. Monitoring is the act of understanding, seeing what's happening in today's environment for your infrastructure. Analytics then goes on to analyze that, understand it, see what the root cause is, and then make informed, actionable insights to then alleviate that and prevent it from ever happening in the future. It uses that data to answer those business questions, discover relationships, and automate decisions on many aspects as well. So this will help you analyze not only the strength of your solution, but also weaknesses and upcoming weaknesses as well. So they go hand in hand because without monitoring, you cannot have analytics. So some of the key features of analytics specialized in Oracle is that you need to have a unified view to see everything all at once, predictive modeling to be able to compare and forecast, and then to have it in a pictorial representation, so a visual representation for easy access to truly see what is happening in today's environment and how to prevent it in the future. So that covers monitoring analytics, what it is, why it's important, and then specifically with Oracle, what you need to keep in mind. But of course, there are a lot of tools available to do that. And with those tools, we have been doing this for over 18 years, as I mentioned, and we've come up and seen different issues that have arisen from there. So some of the challenges that you face with these tools. So I'll begin by naming some of the tools available in today's environment. Now, of course, these are not all the tools when it comes to Oracle monitoring and analytics. These are just some of the more common ones we've seen in some of our clients' environments, as well as what we've seen in the industry. So when it comes to monitoring, there is cron jobs, SolarWinds, Oracle Enterprise Manager, which is a larger one, Foglight, Fusion Middleware Console, and Precise. Now with analytics, of course, again, not limited to, but Excel for apps, Insight Software, Informatica, and Domo. So considering everyone here has some experience with Oracle, I'm sure you've heard at least one or a few of these. Now, the key thing to keep in mind is that these are all great solutions. However, they don't give you a top-down comprehensive view. As you can see, some of these cover application and web server, some of them do not. Some of them include database, some of them include the access, and it's just very limiting in that sense. They're all great solutions. However, this is a great transitionary point into the challenges. So because they're all focused on monitoring and reporting on different aspects of Oracle, you then have to leverage a variety of tools to then get the full business intelligence that you need to make these decisions. So that covers the multiple tools required. Now, with multiple tools, there's obviously different learning paths and learning curves to understand how to utilize it with the current screens it has, the user interface it has, the capabilities, customizing it from a technical standpoint. So this is not only a waste of time and resources for your current technical team, your DBAs and consultants, because they have to navigate to different screens to understand, hey, what is happening right now? And what do I need to do to ensure we're still up and running continuously? So with multiple different tools, you also have to bear a cost for these tools. So that's going to be another thing to consider. It's going to be a costly endeavor having to utilize multiple tools. And then with the customization, on many of these tools, you're not allowed to write your own scripts, pull your own reports, incorporate different widgets. And it's really limited when it comes to customization. And that's why what we've seen in today's environment is that majority of people who are using any sort of Oracle infrastructure use multiple of these so that they can then get a top-down level view of what they would want to see. A lot of them are not administrator focused. They ends up wasting a lot of time. And then of course you don't have that consolidated view to be able to see everything on one screen, to have those actionable insights. So these are some of the challenges that we've seen, and that's why we want to have this webinar today, to really promote understanding of monitoring and why it's so important, especially in today's environment being entirely remote. You truly need to make sure that the servers, the software, the solutions are all up and running and continuously monitored, and actionable items are taken so that there is no downtime. I'm sure many people on this call are technical, and you don't want to get a million phone calls to understand why is this running slow, why can't I import new data, things like that. So going off of the challenges, we've also come up with some best practices to consider for Oracle Business Intelligence. So what do we need to truly do to get up to standard when it comes to Oracle infrastructure monitoring and reporting? So some of the best practices we've uncovered over the years is that the tool should be used to essentially be your team's home base. So all your consultants, your DBAs, your IT directors, your technical team, the tool should be your almost home page on the browser. When they log in the morning, they want to be able to see exactly what has occurred overnight, where are we right now, what needs to be updated, what needs to increase performance, lower disk usage, whatever it may be. They want to be able to see that right on their home screen so that they can make these informed decisions to ensure that there is no downtime, there are no major crashes or issues that may come up. So it would be that central reporting tool to allow to make these informed decisions and actionable insights. A key portion that I touched upon earlier is that the tool should be proactive. There should never be a situation that arises that it tells you a certain aspect is down. It should notify you in advance based on certain thresholds that you define. So let's say when it comes to disk usage, you want a threshold to set at 75%. Once it reaches that 75%, you want your core team or a select amount of people to be notified so that they can accommodate to that and resolve it prior to it even occurring, which would then create that delays and potential downtime as well. So there should never be a time where it's a reactive approach of telling you that an issue has arisen, but rather that this is something we need to consider so that there's no issues in the future. Another key portion is that not every role is the same, as you know. There are different types of DBAs, different DBAs that focus on different reports, different day-to-day responsibilities. There's different types of consultants. So every role is different and they're all wearing different hats, which means they're all wanting to see different things on their dashboards, on these reporting tools. So the views and custom views and specific information based on those views, that role-based access is very key because then they're allowed to see what's pertinent to them and make those changes. Whereas in some of the tools available today, you really have to find what you're looking for to be able to then decide what to do. So this is really key, and even having that customizable snippets and creating your own reports, things like that is very key. And of course, combating all the challenges we mentioned on the previous slide, which many of these points cover as well. So essentially, this is what is a best practice when you're looking to monitor your Oracle infrastructure, or even your infrastructure for any solution as a whole. You need to be able to ensure that all these are in place for your team to truly be informed and to be actively involved and to resolve any issues in the future. So now that we've covered some of the basics of monitoring, some of the tools available today in Oracle's infrastructure, the challenges it poses, and some of the best practices that we've uncovered over the years, we're now going to jump into an overview of a solution that we've developed to handle all of these challenges, to leverage all the best practices we've learned, and to give you those actionable insights. So now I'll pass it over to my colleague Varind, the Director of IT, who will then give you a brief overview of the tool that we're going to discuss today, and then demo at the end.
Thank you, Sart. Hi, everyone. So let's talk about what is Monolithics and how it covers some of these gaps in 2022. Monolithics is an enterprise monitoring and analytics tool that helps you monitor your Oracle e-business suite processes, your application servers, your databases, and operating system or base servers. It was built to bridge the very gap that Sart mentioned in the previous slides, and it is built with the help of experts who understand the pain points faced by most organizations while trying to monitor their Oracle infrastructure. We pride ourselves for having a direct line with our clients, which allows us to continuously add new features, keeping you in mind. So let me quickly take you through some of its benefits. First and foremost, it allows you to customize your dashboard how you see fit with relevant data and allows you to design and resize your widgets on it. So you can truly personalize the data you see according to your role. You only need to invest in one tool, so it ends up saving you cost and having to justify the need for multiple applications to monitor your infrastructure. It is easy to manage, and your organization would need only one learning curve, which would allow you to save time and your team to be more productive and focus on the task at hand. One of its best features is its custom snippets, which allows you to pull in any data you want and lets you represent that using a wide range of accessible graphs and tabular formats. It is highly customizable, and it allows you to set your own alerts based on this data so you and your team are always informed and ready for everything that can be thrown your way. It also has flexible deployment options. The first is a completely cloud-based deployment solution wherein we have the monitoring agent running on our cloud, but connected to your database and servers so you can view the data on our dashboard. This allows you to free up resources in your infrastructure. The hybrid option allows your organization to run the monitoring agent within the closed network and communicate with our servers using our highly secured APIs. And you can still see the data on our cloud dashboard. This allows you to limit the outside access into your environment and control how the data flows. The final option is the on-premise model, wherein you can have both the monitoring agent and the dashboard running in your internal environment and retain all the data within your network. This is potentially important for companies that have a lot of compliances and policies to adhere to. So this gives you a picture into some of its benefits and different deployment options available. So now let's talk about some of its features. So instead of going over each feature individually, I'm going to talk more about the security implementation within Monolithics, as most of these features will be shown to you as we move on. We understand most organizations require their mission critical data to be held in a secure environment. So our primary focus while building this tool was to alleviate those concerns. All our APIs are encrypted with TLS and token-based authorization. This allows for all connections to be private and secure because symmetric cryptography is used to encrypt any data that is transmitted. So at the very base level, all the data is secure on its own. At the second level, all the data is also encrypted at the client level with the AES 256 encryption before syncing with our APIs. This helps to protect from man-in-the-middle attacks. So even before it leaves your servers, there's an additional layer of security wrapped around it. And all the mission critical data that our tool collects is only retained in our environment for 30 days and then scrubbed from our database. An additional feature we have, and I really love this feature, is where we allow you to limit the access to this data within your office environment. What this means is that you can deny access to any employee who tries to access this data from outside your corporate network, thereby limiting any leaks to the mission critical data. Our database is also encrypted both at rest as well as in transit. So as you can see, we spend a lot of time making sure Monolithics puts all your security concerns at ease. In terms of support, this tool allows you to monitor your Oracle databases, e-business suite applications, Oracle GRC, OIG, B3, Oracle WebLogic, and operating systems. So this gives you a glimpse into Monolithics and its capabilities. Now comes the exciting part where we actually get to show you the tool and how it works. For this, I will pass on to our CTO, Sanjay, who will be taking you through it.
Hello everyone, this is Sanjay Verma, and I am with SoftArt for last 18 years as a CTO and co-founder, and I have overall 30 years of experience in IT, and most of it has been on the Oracle, and that was the whole reason we thought about this tool for monitoring analytics. I've been working with Viren for last few years to get this in place, and we are still trying to improvise a lot of features into it, which we will talk at the end of it. But since we already spoke about the features, I would like to jump into the demo now and show you how things are done in Monolithics. So, so this is the screen, login screen when you log into the app. Every user who's assigned gets a user ID and the password, which is encrypted, obviously. So the user ID and password, once you enter, and it authenticates and allows you to go to the Monolithics. The first page that you log in is the dashboard, default dashboard page. So when I say default dashboard, that gives you an idea that you can have multiple dashboard. So what is dashboard here? The screen that you have has got some snippets in it. So it's a collection of snippets which makes a dashboard. And you can have multiple dashboards, like on the top right hand corner if you look at the arrow key. Currently it is showing me a production dashboard, and we, for the demo purpose, we had created two dashboards, one for non-production and one for production. So production has got all production related environments activities, and non-production can have none. So this is just an example. But why do we need multiple dashboards? Since we are talking about dashboards, multiple dashboards could be because it's a collection of snippets. So how do you group them together will define how many dashboards you need. For example, if you have lot of non-production environment like UAT test development kind of patch environments, then you want to keep their statistics and their availability related in a separate dashboard, and production related in a separate, which becomes your default main dashboard, so that those are more important from production point of view. So that's one example. Another example could be where you have database related activities on one dashboard, and application related activities or performance on a separate dashboard. That could be one example. The third could be you could have Linux or server related like IO metrics or CPU metrics and those kind of things in another dashboard, and availability, which is more from the management point of view. They want to know whether system is up and running and overall what's the health of the system. Those kind of analysis, they want to keep it on the. So that could be many reasons, one of the few reasons to create dashboards. And the good thing about Monolithics is that it allows you to create as many dashboards as you want. So now that we're talking about dashboard, let's go deep into it. This is one dashboard that we have, and it has, if you see this gray heading with some analytics or some chart under it, that's the snippet. So on the screen, there are 6 snippets you have which are showing up. And if I scroll down, I see a lot of other snippets. So these are the snippets. The collection of these snippets together are constitute a dashboard. And as I said, you can have multiple dashboards. The snippets are the kind of face of your monolithics. It gives you a lot of information which is related from monitoring. But how do these snippets collect information? It's coming from the monitoring checks, so which we'll be covering later. But each snippet has got some monitoring check behind it, which constitutes the statistics or the data that it collects. And sometimes there are more than one monitoring. Like for this example, this is a overall application availability summary chart, and it shows there are 3 applications and all 3 of them are up and running. So the 3 buys that it has, all of them are green. So but behind it there are not one but there are many monitoring checks, and all of them together constitute the health of the system. So this is an example where multiple of them are running. And for another example where it is one-to-one relationship is like IO matrix. So there's a IO check which is running on the server, and it collects information and sends it to this snippet, which is a IO matrix, which is so one-to-one relationship. One check at the back, one snippet on the front end. So I will go more deep into some of the snippets to help you appreciate the relevance of it. But once we have covered few other topics, it will make more sense. So we'll go back to the next topic now. But to summarize, this is the dashboard that will be on your, which each user gets assigned to. These dashboards have snippets. These snippets you can move around, drag it to what the place where you like to have it. You can even change the size of the snippet depending on the information. Suppose this snippet has got, you want to expand it in a medium size, so it gives you more information here. You can even make it large, which in this case doesn't make sense to have large, but I'm just giving an example. This is how you can do it. And so there it is. So I'll make it back to small. Okay, so you can drag and make them arrange in the format you want. You can change the length or the size of each snippet. Overall dashboard, you can even change the look and feel of it. Instead of dark mode, which currently it has, you can have it as a white background. Somehow I like dark background, so I'll keep it that way. And each snippet is refreshing at an interval defined by your monitoring. So if you look at this small circle here, it is changing the numbers. So it is 5% done at this time. When it is 100% done, the frequency, it will refresh and give you the latest timing statistics here. And on the top, if you see, it also shows you when was the monitoring last captured the information. So 1:30 p.m. is last when it captured the information. So each snippet could have separate timing, but 1:30 is the last one which was picked up. Okay, so let's go back to our presentation. And what's the next topic? 1 second. Okay, so we just spoke about the dashboard customization and how to keep it. Now let's talk about the network security. So like Viren discussed about it in the previous slides also, like, 1 second. Yeah. So how do you set up that network security? In your main menu here, if you go under settings, you will see network security. So what you can do is you can define your CIDR addresses here, network address range, and if your consultant or employee or whoever wants to is in that range of IP address, he would be able to log into Monolithics and see. If he is not, then it will restrict you. So that's the way you can restrict where and how employees or consultants can go to Monolithics and see the relevant data. So that's how we do that. It's a very important and good feature, and especially when nowadays when everyone is working from home, it makes more sense to restrict it on the address and not keep it open wide for everyone. That's about network security. The second topic under same thing was blackout maintenance. Like every application has some downtime for patching, for upgrades, for other things. So during that downtime, whether it's half an hour or for the whole day, you don't want it to start sending alerts and notification every 2 minutes. You want to set it up as a blackout time. You can do that here by providing the start and end time of your blackout. And you can even go further down to the application level, which application is down, or even if you want to go further down into check, like what check you want to stop at that time, you can do it. So in this example, we had three applications. I'll go back also in the dashboard and show you, but there were three applications: EBS PRD, EBS PTCH, which is patch instance, and EBS dev. So there are three applications. So you can uh, select them, either all of them if it is enterprise wise blackout, or you can go at the entity level. Whether it's a database downtime, then you can select only the database level activities and put the downtime and save it. So it will avoid sending any unnecessary emails or notifications to you. So that's about, like, the good thing about it is that you can put the blackout not at not only at the enterprise level, which is the top level, but you can drill down and put the check at the check level. If suppose you don't want IO analysis to be done for next 1 hour because you're doing some changes on the IO, you can just unselect everything, just select the IO info and put the start and end time, and it will put pause on that IO analysis only. So that's how you can do the blackout maintenance. Going back to the presentation for the next topic. So this, we have covered dashboard and the network security. Now let's talk about identity access management. So that's the feature that allows you to a role-based access. Like, you don't want everyone or to be able to see everything. You want to restrict it based on their roles. So that can be done using IAM, which is identity access management. So what we can do is, you first define your roles here. Like in this case, I've defined a role called manager, and I've defined a role DBA for database administrators, for application admin, and Linux admin. These are four sample roles, and for each role you can further define what can that role do. For example, if I say DBA, so I put that only DBA can do only EBS PRD, which is production, and only the database portion. So that so when somebody logs in, when the user logs in, he has a defined role. Based on that role, he would be able to see only those kind of snippets or dashboard snippets on his default dashboard. So that's how we do it. You define your roles, then you define what permission each role can have, and then when you create users, for example, I've created a user called Viren, and he's assigned a role as manager. So that means manager, as a manager, he can see anything. So when he logs in, he can see all applications, all snippets. That's how we control. Because of time restriction, I'm trying to go quick, but I can talk about more if there's any question about it. So that's how we manage the role-based access. Coming back to our main topics. So we have covered the first three topics. Now custom snippet. This is what Viren also started talking about. It's one of the very important features. We don't want to restrict all users to the snippets created by us. Like, although we have hundreds or 200s of snippets, which is more relevant to all the applications we have worked on, but that doesn't restrict you from creating your own snippet. For example, if a purchase admin he wants to know, or a sales admin wants to know how many invoices were created during the day, and every 30 minutes he wants to see the trend, he can create his own snippet and add it to his dashboards. That way he can see all the, that's for somebody who's more on the sales side. From database administrator side, if someone wants to see like how many jobs have performed during last 30 minutes or 1 hour, and he wants to see how many of them were success or failed, so he can write his own query and create his own snippet. Then he can put it on his dashboard. So how do you create that? It's very straightforward. The only thing you need to know is some SQL queries that you need to, your developers or even SoftArt can help you if you need that. So how do you do it? Go to your snippet wizard, which is the third option here. Go to the plus sign here. All you need to give a short name, some description to that snippet, and the select query. So if you give the select query and save it, the system will parse the system and make sure that the query is correct. You have to define what kind of output do you want to see on the screen. Suppose it's a sales query, you want to see the trend and you want to keep it as a line chart, that every 30 minutes it should show what was my sales. So you can have it as a line chart, you can have it as a pie chart, bar, or tabular format, depending on what's the requirement. The trend is like how many cycles you want to see. So for if you're doing like 30 minutes, you want to put it as make it 5 cycles. So you can put the number of cycles here. That's how you get the trend. What's the frequency? You want to check every 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, depending on what you want. There are some predefined frequencies. So you can use that like every 5 minutes. So it will capture it every 5 minutes on the back end and send it to Monolithics, which will show it as a snippet, refresh it on your screen every 5 minutes. So once you define your query, then you take your x-axis and y-axis of your chart. What column is your x-axis? You select based on the query, and it gives you as a drop down, and then you select your y-axis here. And if it has any dates in it, so what would be the date format you want to see? So you can put it in hours if it is every 30 minutes or something. If it's daily kind of activity, you can put the date. So format is then. So once you do that and save it, within few seconds, it will create the snippet for you. Then you go back to your dashboard and you can add that snippet here. So adding that is very straightforward. Go to your settings here, and it will, in the dashboard setup, you will start seeing that snippet here. The name that you gave description, it will show here. You have to just select it, uh, like you select that, and it will start and you select which dashboard you want to see, whether you want to see on production or non-production or whatever dashboard you have. Once you do that, it will start showing up in your dashboard. So that's how easy it is for creating queries and snippets. And once you have it, it will start refreshing in based on the statistics that you gave, frequency that you gave. So that's how we can do it. So it's not restricting your, as long as your environment has been set up, it's, you can have your snippets based on your functional or your transactional date. It's not restricting you only for database performance, but also your transaction based analysis and analytics. So that's about custom snippets. Now coming back to our last topic.
Awesome. Before we continue, we actually do have a question I want to make sure we address here. An attendee asked, can it do actions? And if so, what actions? And to clarify on those, they said if any issue is measured by the tool, we're talking about the actions to prevent the potential issue or ongoing issue.
Sure, that's a good question. And when we started building this tool, the objective of the tool was for monitoring and reporting. So we started with that, and but what we realized is that there are few actions which can be easy to take, and to avoid DBS going and taking that action, if can we do it in the system itself. And we discussed and we said, yeah, that's a good thing, we can add it as it. We have done it. it is under testing mode right now. For example, let me give you some example. If your data, if your table space is more than 90%, right, it sends a notification to you that your table space is. If it sends notification more than 2 times, you want that, okay, now nobody has responded, let me go ahead and do it. So system can automatically go ahead and extend it for you, table space. That's one example. Second example is if there is a blocking lock on your system by an inactive session. So there was an inactive session which is locking your application. We start sending alerts every 2 minutes or 5 minutes based on the monitoring setup. But if after 30 minutes we see that no DBA has not taken an action, and it is still showing as a lock, we have an option that it will go ahead and kill that inactive session for you. And that's all customizable. It's not that it will automatically do it. You will have an option to activate that action. So that feature is also incorporated. It is under testing mode right now. And as soon as we have enough confidence that it's doing the way we expect it to do, that will be included. I hope that answers your question.
Great, thank you.
So that's about custom snippets, which helps you add more snippets, more analytics, more monitoring based on your other requirement, which is not seeded and were not included as part of it. But just to let you know, from the DBA's experience point of view, and application administrator, we have already included around 200 checks, but obviously every client or customer has its own requirement for transactional, so that this option allows you to add those kind of snippets. Now coming to the monitoring setup, which is the heart of the system, I would say, that's if the monitoring is done right, all this analysis will be making value. So that's how, and that's the reason I said dashboard is your dashboard, and snippets are face of your system or Monolithics, but the heart of the system is monitoring. So how do you set up all that monitoring? So let's go to the monitoring setup screen. If you look on the left side, there is a panel here. So first thing is you're setting up your category of applications, like what kind of categories do you have? We have production, we have UAT, we have test. This is some example, but you can create as many as you want. Some could have a HR application, and next could be manufacturing application, and there could be time card related application. So you could have different, but in example for a demo purpose, I created 3 categories: production, UAT, and test development. So once you define your categories, then you define your email group. So you can have multiple email groups for like application admin. You can have a separate group for DBAs. You can have a separate group for managerial reporting. You can have separate email groups. So if there's no restriction, you can create as many groups, email groups, and add comma separated email addresses, which will help you in your monitoring setup. So DBS can be multiple of them, as an example. So once you define your category and email groups, now you start putting your applications together, like how many applications you want to monitor. In this case, I don't know, some of you may have some Oracle EBS experience, and that's the demo example we are taking here, because EBS has got embedded database, WebLogic application server in it, so it becomes easy to one application has got multiple components, which I can demonstrate here. So we have 3 applications. One is EBS production database, production application. One is dev application, and third is the patch application. So these are 2 copies of production. So these are 3 different instances, I would say, or applications that we are monitoring. So that you tell what category each application is it, what is the type of application. For example, when we try to go here, um, you can have multiple type of applications here, whether it's EBS. Let me add one and show you here. You can have EBS 12.13, GRC 8.6, OIG, EBS 12.2, just Oracle WebLogic, Oracle database, Oracle 11, EBS 11, 510. You can pick up those applications, put them into different category, which category, whether it's production or non-production, what is the type of usage, is it production or non-production, the name you define. Once you define your application, you put the URL so that you can click on it from the dashboard and go to that application. So in this demo, I have got 3 applications. They are all EBS 12.2, Oracle EBS 12.2.10 applications. So which has got a WebLogic and database, WebLogic on the application server side and database 19c on the database side. So it will all start making sense once we go further into it. So once we define the applications, then the next thing that we define, like for EBS PRD, which is production database, we define your entities, like how many entities or servers to be next. You can use server word also, but entities, how many entities does it have? It has one entity called database entity and an application entity. Database entity, what is the server name, host name, and some user ID passwords that we give, all those things, whether it's a database only or a application we define. So those are defined here. So here in this case, there are 2 entities for EBS PRD. One is database, one is application server. Once you define your entities, then you click on the entities and you see all the checks that we are doing it. In this case, if you see, there are 15 checks for the database side. Let me expand it and show all of them together. So there are 15 checks that we are doing it. There are lot of them, but here are some of the examples that we are doing, like EBS top 20 tables, what are the top 20 sessions that we have, table spaces we are monitoring, concurrent manager, database, listener. So there are 25 of them. And same thing on the application, since it's a WebLogic application, so it will show you the relevant. There are 14 of them that we are monitoring, which is WebLogic related, managed server, WebLogic deployments. The form server is there. It has the memory information from the servers. It has heap metrics. It has the JDBC pool. So it's monitoring all that on the back end with a frequency that we have defined, like every 5 minutes in this case, which email group it will go to if there's an issue. Based on all this monitoring checks, it continuously runs on the background and creates snippets for you. Those snippets comes back on your dashboard and show it to you, the statistics and analytics, like the trend. You can see it all here. So all to come back to this page, like I said, there are all the stat monitoring that's running on the back end, which is collecting information, sending it to dashboard, where dashboard you can see all the analysis and the snippets in the format you want, whether bar chart, pie chart, tabular, and all that. Okay, so we are close to the time, so that covers the topic we had for today on the demo side. If any questions, please let us know. And I will give it back to Sat.
Hey everyone. So I know we're very short on time here, but as you can see, Sanjay can speak about the tool for quite some time. So I just want to kind of remind everyone that we will be following up this webinar with an email for a free trial of the tool. Of course, we can speak about it for forever and tell you all the great benefits of it, but the real way people understand the value you can get from it is to use that tool internally and see how much value it brings to then decide, hey, this is a good fit for us. So I will be following up with that email, but as you can see, we've covered everything from monitoring, the importance of it, the significance of it. Same goes for analytics, the current tools available today, the challenges, some of the best practices, and ways that we've addressed that. So I'll pass it back to Amelia in case there are any questions, and then we can stay around to answer them for a little bit. But yeah, if there is anything ongoing that after the webinar you want to see more, just keep an eye out for that email that will come, or you can head over to the website, www.monolithics.io, and that'll give you all the information as well.
Great, thank y'all so much for the awesome presentation and demo. It looks like we do have a question. Now is the great time to go ahead and type those up and send them in to us. This one says, I'd like to ask, how long does it take to set up?
Yeah, this is Sanjay again. Yeah, it's a very quick setup. Like for an example, for a application which has got one database and one application server and around 40-45 checks that we are doing, it will take not more than 10 to 15 minutes to set up the whole thing. So on an enterprise level with 5 or 6 applications and everything, I would say not more than 2 hours to set up everything, get started. Hope that answers.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, I said hope that answers that question.
All right. Yeah, we've got some more flowing in. Let's see. Someone has asked for the entire presentation video. Yes, that recording as well as the slide deck will be posted onto our knowledge base to our OATUG members. And the next question is there user limitation?
No, actually, there's Viren, can you answer that question?
Absolutely. So we do not limit the number of users you can add to this platform. We do not have any sort of limitation to that. You can have all your employees be a part of this platform, and then they can further go ahead and restrict their roles and see their relevant data and personalize their own dashboards. So there is no limit to it. I hope that answers the question.
Okay, I guess so. There aren't any other questions at the moment, but thank you guys for submitting those. Those were really great questions. And again, if you do think of anything else post-webinar, feel free to reach out. You guys have their contact information up on the screen. Again, this is all going to be uploaded within the next 24 hours on our knowledge base. And I want to thank everyone for attending today. It's been a great pleasure. And thank you again to our presenters who did such a phenomenal job today. All right, and with that, that does conclude our presentation. Everyone have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.